So first of all, having just used chalk, I'm very aware that there's dusty stuff on my hands. So like a good microbiologist, I'm really paranoid at this point that I'm going to now have dust dropping into anything I touch and therefore contaminating it. And I know this doesn't mean much, but that's why I feel compelled to do this. I really should be cleaning my hands, but I just feel as though there's stuff on it that's going to contaminate things. So what we have here is a pipette canister. So in this canister are serological pipettes. These are glass pipettes. To work with these canisters, what you do is you first open up the can top a little bit, an inch or so. It's about an inch and a half, I guess. And then you do that, and what that does is it shifts the pipettes forward to the front of the canister, so they're sticking out a little bit. So they're sterile inside of this. And so when I take the top off, they're now sticking out a bit. They're actually probably sticking out enough that I probably didn't need to move the can over, the top of the can over when I took them, before I opened it up. But for some of these canisters, in fact, you do need to move that out, so that's why I did it. So what you want to be doing is pulling pipettes out of here without contaminating those pipettes. And the way you do it is by grabbing them on the end. Ideally, you're just touching the pipette that you're grabbing, rather than all of them. And then you pull them out in such a way that you don't touch anything else as it comes out. And then this canister lives on the side of your bench. You don't want to drop them all on the ground because they'll all break. Now what you do with these things is we have these little mechanical pipettors, and there's a little thumb action right here. And what I did is I opened it up a little bit. That's the way there'll be a little bit more when you go to squish some out, squirt it out. There'll be a little bit more volume that comes out. But you want to insert the pipette into this little mechanical pipetter. It actually should be able to hold like this. And then what you do is you put the pipette into whatever the liquid that you're drawing up is, and then you use the little action here to pull up a volume. Now the volume, this is a 1 millimeter pipette. No, it's not. It's supposed to be a 1 millimeter pipette. It's actually these are all 0.2s. I'm going to have to make sure the right pipettes are here. Assume, for argument's sake, this is a 1 millimeter pipette. In that case, the 1 millimeter mark will be right here. So what you'll be doing is you'll be drawing up the liquid until you get to the top line. And that'll constitute 1 milliliter rather. And then you just go to wherever you're delivering that and you squirt it. Just push it down. And that should deliver pretty much all of it to wherever you're going. If you wanted to deliver less than 1 milliliter, you would deliver it along these gradations here. Each major gradation is 0.1 milliliters or 100 microliters. Now what you're going to want to do, I know this from experience, is grab these things down here. You don't want to do this. These are sterile, at least this one was. You want to make sure you're just touching them at the top. You don't want to get anywhere near the bottom here. You don't want to get near the bottom because you don't want to be touching the tip. You don't want to go near the bottom because after you've drawn up organism into here, you could have organism on the sides of the pipette. And you don't want to go near the bottom because you're going to be then putting the pipette into a tube and delivering the contents, but also to some degree the bottom of the pipette will be near the tube. So you want to be conscious of touching the top of the pipette only, not the bottom of the pipette. The other thing about these things is that it's really easy to swing them around and to swing them across your clothing and all that kind of stuff. So you need to be really conscious of these things when you've got them, that you are keeping the part that is in the lower portion of it from, in fact, coming in contact with anything. Okay? So that's a serological pipette. When we're ready to get rid of the pipette, where they go are into this dirty pipette canister right there. Also, be careful when you're working with them, when you're seating them into this mechanical pipette aid thing, and that is because it is possible to break the pipettes, and what we don't want is for somebody to break a pipette and then stab themselves with the pipette. There's another kind of pipetter that kind of probably looks weird if you're not used to these things. These use little pipette tips, plastic tips. In this case, it is the tip that is sterile. And what you do is you press down onto the top, or the orifice at the top of these pipette tips, and that seats the pipette onto this pipette thing. I call them pipette people because the leading brand of these for years, they're called Pipetmen, and instead of being sexist, I call them pipette people. But at any rate, what you do here is you depress the top here, not all the way. It can go to a certain point, and then there's a lot of resistance, and you can go beyond that, but you don't want to go beyond where it's just easy to depress it. That will plunge the plunger that's inside of them down to the point where if you put the tip into a liquid and then release your thumb, it will draw up the correct amount of liquid. In this case, that correct amount is indicated as 100. That's 100 microliters, if anybody can read that. Okay? And then what you do is you go to wherever you're delivering the volume, and you put the pipette tip over for example, the test tube, and you press down, and then you press beyond where it's easy to press down, and that should deliver all the volume. And then this is the fun part. You dispose of the pipette by going over here to these little plastic bags. See, the original ones are great. The Pipetmen are great because they actually, I mean, you could shoot them with accuracy across the room. But these things, look, I'm right there, it misses. This is why you don't buy cheap products. You go for quality here. Ooh, look at that, my pipette tip actually broke. We're really, so anyway, I guess you got to put it a little bit down in there to do that. But the way you do that is this little button over here, and that allows it to be released. Some of the ones that I have don't have a little button. In that case, I'll have to manually take this. So that is pipetting. What you're going to be doing is using these pipettors to just move volumes from one place to another place.